Hey everybody, Zach Butler YGO back with a deck profile after like 2 months. It's been quite a while. There just wasn't much to do during the previous format. There wasn't much to cover. I was mostly just kind of playing for fun, and the deck I played for the most part was Salamangreat, and then there's just like a couple of other like really just janky decks here and there. Nothing too crazy, but we're back with Ancient Overlord and YCSs and things like that. New format, new Forbidden Limited List had started not too long ago. So that's exciting. Wanted to show you guys the Spright deck that I've been working on for the last couple, probably about a week now. It's pretty standard in a lot of ways, but I think it's pretty solid right now. If you guys want to pick up any of the cards in the video, please use the TCG player link in the description below. A portion of that does go to the channel, so you're helping me while helping yourselves out, which is always great. And if you have any questions or any feedback on the deck, let me know down below. So I'll show you guys the deck as we go through it here. So first for the sprites, we have 3 blue, of course, 3 Spright Jet. That's pretty normal. You know, searches your monsters, searches spell traps. 1 red and 1 carrot, as well as 1 pixies. So pixies is one that I, for the longest time, had cut pretty much since YCS Minneapolis last year, because I was playing Runic Spright. So why are we playing pixies now? So with the direction of the format, you have Rescue Ace, which is looking to outgrind you. You have Unchained, which is generally going to try to outgrind you, because you'll break, like, they'll do their board, you'll break it, they'll crack back, and then you have to try to break it again, and that's when they'll win, is by that grind. So Pixies kind of helps you ignore that and just OTK them. The plan when you're going first is to do like your Melfie plays and things like that, because I'm playing the Melfie engine. Going second, though, you're trying to just end the game as quickly as you can, because you don't have as high of quality cards as your opponents do. So that's where that comes from. Took a little bit of inspiration from Dinkang Pham with that, and it seemed pretty solid so far. Plus, one cool thing with Pixies is that it's just another name, which is really good in a format where you need the additional extenders due to your Spright starter being semi-limited, so you don't have that anymore at 3. Then you also don't have Spright Elf, obviously, like we used to. So you don't have as many good resources as you used to, so having an additional name in Pixies is really good. It does sometimes not do the most, like drawing it isn't the greatest. You usually want to search it. Typically, I found myself wanting to search it off of blue on their turn. If I could bring back blue when they attacked or something with my Spright Double Cross or something like that, and then just add it to my hand, that was pretty much ideal. But there's that. So you have your double starter. 1 Smashers, 1 Gamma Burst, and 1 Double Cross. Double Cross is insane. Card is very good. The main reason I'm playing it actually is because I'm playing the Swamp Frog engine right now, and I want to be able to loop Totally Awesome. So that gets you a lot of power with that. Also, this helps with SP Little Knight plays, as well as protecting your Ibly Lock and things like that. So that's the Spright portion of the deck. Then you have your normal summon engine of 3 Nimble Beaver. To go with that are 2 Nimble Anglers, and you have your 3 Swap Frogs. So this engine's obviously really good. We already know Swap Frog is a powerful card. We already know that the Nimble engine is so good. But the main reason I found that I wanted to go back to it was that Spright lacked 2 things, in my opinion, when you were going first. You lacked follow-up, because you'd use so much of your deck just to do your end field of like Sprint, Gigantic, IP, you know, Melfie cards, things like that. Like, you just use so many cards in doing so, because you'd burn through these, and you'd burn through your Melfies, and you'd burn through most of your Sprites. It ended up being really hard to have follow-up, and funnily enough, Swap Frog helps with both starters and follow-up, because you'll do the Swap Frog play, you'll make your Totally Awesome, and then when the Totally Awesome dies, you'll add back Nimble Beaver, giving you a guaranteed follow-up. Plus, with the Melfie play, if you draw your penny, you can always just search out another Nimble Beaver if you only used 1, or if you didn't use any, for example, because that came up a couple times. It's just a lot more layered in its interactions that way. Also, Swap Frog gives you the ability to field level 2s without your normal summon and without starter, which is something that I found that the deck tends to lack right now due to not playing the runic cards, or not playing, you know, other special summon engines and things like that. So that was really good. So we played those. And also Swap Frog is just surprisingly good. Like, sometimes you'll... one of the plays that's come up is you discard Angler, special summon Swap Frog, you know, summon your 2 beavers. If your hand can call for it, you can return a beaver instead of a Swap Frog, forego the totally awesome play, and then just normal summon your Swap Frog again, or your normal summon your Nimble Beaver again later on, and just get further into the game that way. That did come up a few times, actually. So that's something to consider as well. And then, like I said, I played the Melfies, so you have 1 caddy, and then your 1 penny. The Melfie engine's pretty solid. I don't necessarily like how many extra deck slots it takes because it's taking up 2, which is actually kind of hard when you're trying to fit so much utility in there. But I do like that Caddy gives you the ability to grab follow-up, and then Penny also gives you another layered Omni negation, which is really good. So that's what that is for. Initially, I was actually playing Pony instead of these 2, but I found that I wanted the negation as well. So maybe it might be worth it to go back to Pony, actually, but Pony kind of serves the same purpose as the Swap Frog in that the Totally Awesome can get you to follow up. Pony really just gets you to follow up, so it might be redundant. Then I played 1 Nightmare Corruptor Ibly just to have, you know, that extra layer of strength going first. And most people aren't playing Ibly outs right now, or if they are, you know, you can still force them to use it, and then you usually have double cross and things like that. Ibly is also just really good at worst, outside of like them tribute summoning for a Unchained tribute monster. Generally, the worst part about Ibly would be them outing it by attacking with it, which even that means that they've lost their main phase 1 and their battle phase, so then they have to answer the rest of your field without attacking. So that actually comes up and is very useful a lot of the time. And then I played 2 Cashier Fenrirs, just 2 because there was a lot of Ken and Gen decks going around. And also, everybody's playing Fenrir, and I'm playing Talents and things like that, so I can usually access Fenrir. And it's more of a going second card in this deck than a going first card. It's really more just like a non-engine card. I probably should be playing 3 just to have it. It's like a good discard engine as well. But I liked it a lot at 2. Never really bricked on it, which was good, because I found myself drawing 2 all the time. And then for the non-engine cards, the rest of the non-engine, you have your 3 Ash Blossom and Joy Spring. That's pretty normal right now. Ash is in a really good spot. 3 Droll and Lockbird. This was one I have gone back and forth on. Droll, I feel now is more mandatory than it was before. If you checked out my recent article on cheap tech options, post AGOV, you'd notice that I talked about the fact that I just had to reverse my position on Droll and Lockbird because historically I've said this card is pretty polarizing and not in a good way. But now with Manadium and all those kinds of decks running around, I feel like you kind of need it, at least for now. That might change. Then I played Harpy's Feather Duster for when I go second because there are still surprisingly a high number of Labyrinth players around. And also just having this card going second is really good against Unchained. Even though it gives them additional monsters, being able to clear the back row and remove threats and then you just have the bodies is really good. And then 2 Triple Tactics Talents. Another reason for the Harpy's Feather Duster in the main deck is because Rescue Ace likes to set 4, so I figured I might as well just have like a blowout card going second. 2 Triple Tactic Talent, not totally sold on this card either. The problem with Triple Tactics Talent actually is that it is not a hand trap, and I don't typically like hand traps that much. I prefer to do board breakers, but I didn't know what hand trap I necessarily wanted to play in place of this. These could have been Nibiru's, or they could have been, I guess really just Nibiru, because I don't want to play Effect Veiler and things like that. But I ended up going with the 2 Talents just to have more stability when I go second, and, you know, the flexibility of the card is just insane. So we played 2 of those. This was the 40th and 41st card, actually. And there's 2 enemy controllers. You could theoretically cut the Talents and bump enemy controller up to 3. That is perfectly reasonable. I really like enemy controller. It's a card I've always been a fan of. And especially in this deck where you have like your Fenrir, your Swap Frogs, your Nimbles, and then your Sprites. You have so many cards you don't mind getting rid of just to help break their field that enemy controller comes up a lot. Also, it can help to dodge SP because SP has to banish both monsters. So if you tribute the monster that they're targeting of yours and then take one of their other monsters, the SP is there and it's completely worthless. That did come up a few times actually. as well, which is something to consider for the strength of enemy controller. And then 3 infinite impermanence just to round out the defensive cards or the non-engine. I just wanted to have a good generic card, and imperm is kind of always like a the 6 between Ash and imperm is always just like an easy inclusion in any deck if you don't know what to play for defense. Extra deck, we have 1 Herald of the Arclight. I was playing Merry Melfies before, or Joyous Melfies, whichever one the other the synchro is. Never came up. Like, I think I summoned it once in the months that I played this deck, so I used to play this deck a lot, and I never summoned it, so I cut it just for other more useful cards, because Herald is really the only one I need, and most of the time the Melfies get taken out anyway. Then 2 Gigantic. I did consider 3. There have been a couple times where I've wanted a third one, so this might have to be bumped up to 3. More just for the 3200 than its actual effect. Being able to be a 3200 attack monster is surprisingly useful in a format where you just need to beat stuff down. So that's really good. And I found that I would go through both pretty quickly. Then you have your 1 Melfie the Forest, of course, to search for your copies of Caddy and Penny if you need. 1 Totally Awesome for the Swap Frog combo. 1 Ninja Shadow Mosquito. This hasn't come up for me yet, but I like having the option to OTK with that card and kind of just like cheese out some wins. I don't know if it's necessarily worth the slot. I could also see myself playing a Centaria to return a monster, or even Oni Bimaru, because I did cut that. I felt like I had removal in other ways, but I actually did miss it a few times in my testing, so that might be something to consider. Then you have Downward Magician, Divine Arsenal Double A Zeus, and Super Star Slayer Typhon. This card's crazy. I want to talk about this card in particular. One of the cool things about Typhon is actually the existence of Typhon makes Zeus weirdly weaker. Where I would be in games, and if they, did their play and they Zeused me, if you just summon a monster and your opponent doesn't think about it, this card will come up. You can just put it over your monster, clear the field. So it makes it so every normal summon is pressure, and that's really cool. It also just helps to clear boards in ways you may not necessarily be able to, which I liked a lot. I found that I initially wasn't going to summon this card often, and then the more I've play tested with it, and the more tournaments I've entered with it, the more I found that I summon it in a lot of different scenarios. And then for the Link monsters, we have the 2 Sprint. The second one doesn't really come up that often for its send effect, but it's nice to have just in case they ever rip your extra deck, because that doesn't really happen. But it's also just, they like to Ash the first one, so having a second one is always good. And it's just a good way to get rid of bodies. SP Little Knight. I know this card is really expensive, so if you're trying to find like a budget option, you could actually just do Nightmare Unicorn or Nightmare Cerberus. I found that this card often wasn't winning me the games as much as I think a lot of players might assume it does. It is very good, obviously. Being able to banish 2 cards is really good. However, it really just kind of slowed down games and gave me a chance to play, and those other cards would have done the same thing. The main thing I liked about SP Little Knight was that it turned Dark into more of a threatening card. But if you can't afford this card, which is totally reasonable, and you're not planning to play like in a YCS or something, you could very easily play either a Nightmare Cerberus, a Nightmare Unicorn. You can even play the Oni Bimaru. There's always a ton of options. So if not having access to this is deterring you from playing the deck, don't worry about it. There's always very good options. And then IP Masquerena, Bujinki Ahashima. One important thing to note is its hidden effect of if a Xyz monster it points to activates its effect, you can destroy a spell or trap. That does actually come up because you can often summon this and then summon Toad under it. And you can do that within 5 summons, and then if you can make a Gigantic elsewhere, then you'd still have that set up. But that does come up from time to time. Just something to consider. And then I played Dark, the Dark Charmer. The main reason I played this was to take opposing copies of IP or SP or IP, as well as to make my copy, because I could just like steal their Dark monster and then get the bonus effect on the SP. Dark was pretty good though in general, just as another like good pressure card. The side deck is definitely not refined, so take it with a grain of salt, but I'll show you guys what I played tonight. First was 3 Nibiru. I really just wanted to have like a bomb card for the combo decks of the format, and Nibiru is always that card. 3 Dimension Shifter. This is for Monadium. Even Pearly, if they aren't expecting it, it's obviously not like insane against them. The Labyrinth matchup, it can come in, even though it doesn't necessarily shut them down. Just being able to stop the traps from being recycled is really good. It's just kind of like a catch-all card. And then you have 2 Bestial Druisworm and 1 Magnemite. This was the part of my side deck I was the least satisfied with. These were obviously for tier, but I found that tier limits has become a lot less popular, at least in my area, since Age of Overlord has come out, so it might be worth taking them out for something else. These were almost actually Hey-Trunades, just for Rescue Ace for when I go second, but I do also side 3 Twin Twisters. And it is specifically Twin Twisters because the predominant back row of the format, the main back row decks are Labyrinth and Rescue Ace. If they aren't playing Lord of the Heavenly Prison, then this obviously gets good mileage against the Labyrinth deck, and against the Rescue Ace deck, this can clear as many threats as possible. It can clear more than one at a time, and you can discard your Nimble Angler to actually get to play. So I think that that's worth it, although like I said, I did consider playing Hey-Trunade over the Druisworms and Magnemite, just to have more back row removal, since we entered into a bit of a grindy format. And then I played 3 Anti-Spell Fragrance as well, just for when I go first. This card was actually pretty mediocre. I'll probably take it out. These could have been Mistaken Arrest. They also could have been Spellbound. Those are 2 cards I'm a big fan of playing, and you could replace both of these with like Spellbound and Mistaken Arrest if you really wanted to. I like Mistaken Arrest in conjunction with Dimension Shifter when I go first, because then I don't have them conflicting, and then when I go second, I just take out the Mistaken Arrest. Spellbound is really good, obviously, against Pearly. You can stop them from getting to rank up. Against Unchained, you can stop Rage from getting to take your monster to Link. Against Chimera, it can stop them from making Guardian Chimera, Predaplant Dragostapelia, and whatever the Illusion super rare fusion guy is. I don't remember its name, but it takes a monster on the field. So those are all options as well. One of the main things I did want to point out, though, really quick about this deck is that it is, outside of SP Little Knight, actually very budget-friendly, which is something I really like about this deck a lot, because I've noticed that a lot of players are deterred by how expensive some of the decks are right now. So if you want something that's decent and gets you pretty decent results at like your locals or maybe even a regional, definitely give this deck a shot. Like I said, if you guys have any questions, let me know down below. I'm happy to talk about it. This is one of my favorite decks. And until next time, have a wonderful day.